You know, another aspect of my situation is that they know if they say something that displeases me, I'm so ready to retire. It's like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. I guess I'll leave.
Yeah, well, it's similar in my situation. We know Proper has been attempting to shut us down now for 10 years. And we're down to 35 people when we were at, I think I've told you this before. At one point we had 350 people.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're a skeleton crew effectively running our side of the business now.
Now, who was that? Is that like the parent company?
That's who bought us. They bought us back in 2005, 2006, something like that.
They did this. They had the same situation in Shreveport with your Uncle Steve, and some company came in and bought him out, but they realized that he's got so much experience, they can't possibly, you know, shut him down or shut them down. So he just keeps going down there for, you know, 20, 30 hours a week. And
that's my hope, is that I know what their roadmap is, I know what their plan is. They want to have us shut down this time next year. I know they can't. So, I mean, if I hang on for another 3 or 4 years, it's fine with me.
Well, I imagine if they shut down, you could get a job somewhere else doing.
I can. Yeah.
Probably get it next day or so.
Yeah, I can. I'm not too worried about it. However, I would like to do something a little bit more fulfilling than what I'm doing now.
Like what?
I've thought about working for a company called SAIC. They do, it's kind of like civilian corps type stuff. They do software engineering for DOD and whatnot.
They here in Charlotte?
No, they're down in Charleston and all the way up the coast. If I stay here in Charlotte, I'll probably just end up doing the same thing I'm doing. Alright, I'll get ice. I'll wait here.
Yeah. put that in there. Can you stick these in there? Thanks. What size engine does this thing have?
It's a V6. I don't know what the liter is. They only make one size for these, all the Tacomas.
Uh-huh.
Oh, very nice. Oh, I am happy. I don't know if you saw that, but there was an update, and I've been waiting for an update to make this better, clearer. And it looks like they did it finally. Just in time. By the way, you've got heated seats, and if you want your own temperature control, you can do that.
Oh, okay.
CNN headline read, Comey, I took Trump's request about Flynn as a directive. A Fox News headline, Comey, President did not order me to let Flynn probe go. Jonah Goldberg joins us to make sense of this. He's with National Review, regular guest on this program. Hi, Jonah.
Morning, Steve.
I'm going to give you a chance to be a headline writer. What's your headline of this same exchange?
Oh, golly. Comey poisons Trump. Trump declares victory.
That makes no sense, Jonah.
Well, all right, so here it is. If you paid attention, Comey was basically laying down the predicates, basically handing a narrative to the special counsel, Robert Mueller, who he knows very well, for obstruction of justice.
Yeah.
Now, Mueller may or may not pick up that ball. That remains to be seen. But Comey gave what was, to his mind, all of the elements for that investigation. So I think the big takeaway from yesterday was the Russia collusion story, the big conspiracy theory scandal, that took a major hit. The obstruction of justice story got a major boost.
Meaning that Comey did not give a lot of new evidence or any new evidence that Trump's campaign colluded with Russia in some way.
Right, but he also actually undermined that story when he said that the New York Times, which was the original blockbuster about the Trump campaign colluding with Russian officials,
got the story wrong.
He said that story was wrong, and that's a big deal.
He hasn't said exactly how it's wrong, but there it is. And then the obstruction of justice. And this is reminding me actually of Watergate, where Richard Nixon could have argued that the original crimes of Watergate were not such a big deal. Somebody called it a third-rate burglary, but the obstruction of justice just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right, and so I thought one of the most interesting things about yesterday actually wasn't in the Comey testimony, but was in Donald Trump's lawyer's response to it. Because they want to have it two ways. They want to say, on the one hand, Comey's testimony completely vindicates the President of the United States, and on the other hand, James Comey is a complete and total liar. and it seems to me that if Comey is lying about the inconvenient bits in his testimony, the bits that lay down the predicate for this obstruction of justice charge, well, he could have made much bigger lies. I mean, he could have said that he and Donald Trump sat around the Oval Office watching Carrot Top or something. I mean, he could have really come up with some nasty stuff, and he didn't. And you can't take the bits that help you, that exonerate you from one charge, and then say he's lying about the other one.
Okay, so the lawyers will deal with the legalities on this. Maybe a grand jury sometime. Who knows? Let's just talk about the politics. Is this defensible when we have the president saying, I hope you can let this investigation go? That's maybe a general statement, but it's surrounded by all these other things. Asking everybody else to leave the room. Comey didn't do what he was asked, and he was fired. Is that actually a survivable charge against the president?
I think that all entirely depends on how many Democrats are in the House of Representatives and the Senate going forward.
It's a political
question. It's not a legal question. The president is not going to be impeached over legal niceties. It is going to be about some larger political question.
Jonah, thanks very much as always. Glad you came on.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Jonah Goldberg is senior editor at the National Review, also a columnist for the LA Times. Now, the investigation of Russian interference took our colleague David Green to Moscow, and he's on the line. Who are you talking to, David?
Well, Steve, one person I want to introduce you to is Margarita Simonyan. She is the editor-in-chief at RT. That's the English language news channel that is, of course, funded by the Russian government and seen by many as just a propaganda machine. The latest criticism of RT came from French President Emmanuel Macron. He said RT engaged in what he called deceitful propaganda to support his election opponent, the far-right leader Marine Le Pen. Now, Margarita Simonyan, she said she's thinking of suing Macron for slandering her network, and she said RT was trying to counter what she calls the mainstream media.
All of the mainstream French media, all of them, were jumping out of their pants to make people vote for Macron. All of them. I can give you tons of examples.
But did that make it RT's
we are propaganda, and they're not.
So this really speaks to how Simonyan sees RT's role. She says the mainstream media has its own narrative about Russia that she needs to combat, and some say she's basically just taking orders directly from the Kremlin. Let me ask you about another issue that comes up frequently among your critics, that you have some sort of telephone in this office where you have a direct link to someone who works for Vladimir Putin, and you have editorial discussions on that phone. Does that phone exist? Is it somewhere in this office? Is it?
Yeah, I have a phone right here, which I use whenever I have to discuss something that is needed, what's this called, a secure line.
There's this narrative that this is a secure line to the Kremlin.
Just today, I talked on that line with the Russian Central Bank, discussing some of the issues of RT finances that are probably shouldn't be discussed on an open line.
Do you talk to people who work for Vladimir Putin on that line?
See, you don't want to listen to the answer, do you? You don't want to hear the answer.
I want to hear the answer.
No, you don't. You want a statement that you can use in your broadcast. I'm a journalist as well. All of the people who work in the Russian government and Russian presidential administration in this way or another work for Vladimir Putin. I talk to all sorts of people.
Well, let me ask you in a more fair way. Do you ever make editorial decisions about the mission of RT and story decisions with people who are working very closely with Vladimir Putin?
We never make editorial decisions with people who are working closely with Vladimir Putin, unless you consider myself a person who's working closely with Vladimir Putin. That a lot of people actually would say so.
Would you say so?
I would.
Do you have a relationship with him? I mean, are you friends? Are you...
No, we're not friends. I know him. I've known him ever since I was 20 or 21. Because just like you have White House pool, we have the Kremlin pool, and I used to be Kremlin pool correspondent, so we said hi to each other, you know. But I can't call him, if that's what you mean.
Do you have an opinion about him as president and his policies?
I have tons of opinions about him as president and his policies. To understand Russia's fascination about Putin, and I think this is something that is completely not
Work, school, errands, kids.
It never stops.
And the news never stops either.
You can keep up between Morning Edition and All Things Considered with Here and Now. Hi, it's Robin Young.
And Jeremy Hobson. Here and Now brings you breaking news, developing stories, the latest in the arts and innovation.
Asking tough questions, unpacking complex issues.
From across the country and around the world.
Join us.
You can join us for Here and Now this afternoon from 12 until 2. Good morning. On a Friday, this is Morning Edition on 90.7 WFAE. I'm Nick Delacanal, and today for Marshall Terry. Coming up, the ride-hailing service Uber doesn't place restrictions on how long a driver can be on the road. Ahead, we hear how some drivers are driving for 14 hours or longer. That story's ahead in about 7 minutes. From education and energy to business and the arts, WFAE reporters work hard every day to cover the issues and trends that are shaping life in the Charlotte region. You can listen to the stories you missed on air by clicking on the news tab at WFAE.org. In the forecast, should be a beautiful day today. Sunny skies with a high around 82, then mostly clear tonight with lows in the lower 60s. And ahead this weekend, sunny both days with highs in the upper 80s.
Support for NPR comes from NPR member stations and from the Pew Charitable Trusts. Pew's new podcast, After the Fact, tells the story behind the data with analysis of today's policy issues. More information is available at pewtrusts.org/afterthefact. From the Joyce Foundation, working to ensure that all students arrive at kindergarten ready to learn and graduate high school prepared to succeed in college, work, and life. Learn more at joycefdn.org. And from the listeners who support this NPR station.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm David Green.
And I'm Steve Inskeep. We could see some confrontations around this country tomorrow. The group Act for America is known for its criticism of Islam, and it's leading a march against Sharia in at least 19 states.
Please proceed to the highlighted route, then the route guidance will start.
Muslims. Some civil rights leaders see these marches as provocative, and counter-protests are likely, as NPR's Tom Gelton reports.
These marches are largely the brainchild of Scott Pressler, a 29-year-old Republican activist now working with Act for America.
This was born on the internet from me sending out a Twitter post saying, hey, I would love to do a rally. Who wants to help?
As a gay man, Pressler says he was first motivated to fight Muslim extremism after the deadly Orlando shooting last June. The target there was a gay nightclub. The perpetrator allegedly pledged loyalty to ISIS. When he proposed the idea of an anti-Sharia rally, he says he got a flood of responses.
My email has been just pummeled with activity. We have people who still want to have their own rallies across the country.
So this is going to be our meeting spot. We're going to do a prayer. I have a singer that's going to sing the national anthem, and my country 'tis of me.
Denise Zamora is one of those who responded.
Proceed about 9/10 of a mile to I-77 north.
California. It'll be near
Slow traffic.
2015.
And now, so weird and kind of creepy and speaks with an English accent. You know what I'm talking about? And I shouldn't speak ill of the strange. That's the name of my new album, Ill of the Strange. Johnny Depp celebrating his birthday today, 54. Oh my God! Johnny Depp, 54 today. Maybe he listens to Lithium. Not after the comments I made. Good morning, I'm Madison. Here's Collective Soul.
underneath that.
Yeah, right up the road.
Huh?
Having the roller coaster right up the road.
Yeah. No, I mean having them tell you how to do the driving, where to go.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to fumble around with the map and
Continue on
stuff.
I-77 north.
It's recording, by the way, just so you know. Darts Hill.
Do you think we'll go through Mayberry?
No. That's up near Virginia, Danville, that area, Mount Airy.
It's pretty out here.
Yeah.
Got good pickup.
Yes. It's almost like it's a pickup truck.
There you go. Yeah. I guess that's why they call them that.
Yeah. Based on the map, that's Uwharrie National Forest. That way.
Really? Have you ever been through that Cherokee National Forest?
Kind of. It's near where my mom lives.
I thought she was in Greensboro.
No, she's visiting a friend in Greensboro. She lives up in Cashiers.
Oh, okay.
In Nancy Hollow National Forest. Carthage. Is that how you say it?
Nice little place.
Yeah. very.
Proceed about 3 miles to North Carolina 2427.
And Evan Bernstein.
You okay there, Jay? Jay.
I just want to mix it up a little bit, Evan.
Whew. I thought you might be choking on a carrot.
Took Evan by surprise. Has anyone ever
Proceed about 0.8 of a mile to Northeastern Boulevard.
While they were recording?
Yeah.
No?
Do you think they would hang up and like seek emergency services?
I hope so.
Don't forget that would require a conscious decision to upload it.
Yeah, that's true. Somebody else would have to do that.
Right, somebody else does that. I'm like, oh,
You live stream.
he was kind of short this week, but
Yeah,
we'll put it up
could be
anyways.
Perhaps he was dictating. Did you guys hear about this dog who is like an editor for 7 journals?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did read about that. I guess that won't be in science or fiction today.
Olivia Dahl. No, it's not. Olivia Dahl. Apparently, she's the editor for Global Journal of Addiction and Rehabilitation Medicine. So yeah, this is not the first time someone's done this. I get these requests probably 2 times at least a week, where some journal I've never heard of, some like open access journal, invites me to be an editor. They're just trolling for anybody at
In
any
half of a mile, left turn
to be on the
onto
editorial board.
Northeastern
Put it
Boulevard.
on their masthead and make it seem like they're legit, So this guy submitted his dog's name as a this guy's Mike Dobbs, a professor of health policy, just as a goof, and then they accepted it, so he just kept doing it, and now his dog is on 7 different editorial journals.
What was her name again? The dog's name?
Olivia Dahl.
That's a weird dog's name.
Yeah. How do you get on as an editor for a journal and do absolutely nothing? Like, what that?
Yeah, like not have an email address.
It's all about just having your name on the site to make it seem like it's. These are the fake pay-to-publish journals that we're talking about.
Yeah. And why not have
there's a liquor
dog
store.
have an email address and you're going to respond for them anyways.
We could get that over with.
Hell, there are all kinds of Twitter accounts for all sorts of inanimate objects and dead people and all sorts of stuff out there.
I know somebody got like a degree in homeopathy for their cat.
Now I really want Molly Novella to be an editor. Kara, what about Dr. Killer?
I'll be right back.
That has a certain
Dr.
ring to
Killer,
it.
yeah, right?
That's Kara's dog, by the way.
I wonder what he would edit. What journal would he edit?
Well, so Olivia Dahl's research interests include avian propinquity to canines in metropolitan suburbs.
Oh my God. I love it.
That's hilarious.
A great word as well.
And the benefits of abdominal massage for medium-sized canines.
Perfect.
But obviously the point is just to show how how fake these journals are. It's unfortunate because it's flooding the market with these crappy journals and those they can just do what they barely need to do to get listed as peer reviewed, but they don't actually spend the time and money to peer review their articles. There really needs to be, that tells you, I think there needs to be a real tighter regulation of who gets to be peer reviewed,
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. There should be a board or
there is
communities that police these things.
Yeah, there is, but I guess once you get listed as peer reviewed, they don't pay too much close attention at that point.
So I was thinking, not too long ago, now that fake news is here and everyone mostly is aware of it, how are we ever legitimately going to get rid of it? Like, it's like bad information on the internet. Like, it's
We're not.
You can't get rid of
right?
it.
Well,
Yeah,
not only
It's
like
a virus.
we also talk about this like it's new. Fake
That's
news
right.
has been around for
Oh,
centuries.
gosh. Yeah. Yeah,
that's true, but it's just different now.
It's different now because it's in a different platform. So
Different platform. It's accessible by more people than ever.
yeah, and we're probably a little more politically polarized and more educated, right? So I think that it's, I don't know. I mean, obviously
least
there's
we
no
think
quick
we're
fix. I think we are more educated than we were centuries ago. Speaking as a woman, I think it's safe for me to say that we are more educated than we were centuries ago.
Well, sir.
Obviously not a quick fix, but one of the things that will help is just to have changes in these cultural norms. When things are obviously fake, we make it a point to call it out as being fake. When things are obviously up to snuff and have really good, like, you know, news outlets that have really good ethical standards, those are the ones we choose to support. But there's always going to be bottom feeders.
Yeah, but I have been trying to decide, like, is it qualitatively different now than it was? Because obviously there's always been fake news and polarizing news and partisan news, etc. But it does seem like it's so easy now for people to just wrap themselves in confirmation bias, right? In just the information that they want, and on specific issues. You know, it's not like just the major political parties. If you want to believe that GMOs are bad, you can surround yourself with all kinds of authoritative sounding information that confirms that position, and you feel like you understand. That's, again, you know, the Dunning-Kruger guys, you know, wrote about that. It's like, unfortunately, people who are ignorant don't have an absence of information. They have false information. They have something that it feels like knowledge, but it isn't. And that makes them very confident in their factually incorrect beliefs, you know. Yeah. And that's the worst thing. Online, you get into a conversation with somebody, they're like, oh no, look at all this, and they have all of these links and facts and everything. It's all BS, so it's all cherry picked, but they think they got all the information. They must be right, you know.
And that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier, when I think people think they're more educated than they are.
Throw it in the cooler?
Well, that's definitely true.
You want to throw it in the cooler?
Kara, I have a question for you.
No, that's okay.
What's the word?
I'll just get some ice at the hotel.
The word this week is a
Have to
fun
get
one,
some
and it's a
Diet
lot more
Coke.
complicated than it seems kind of on its surface.
It'll be alright.
So the word this week is
I'll live.
epigenetics. And it's something we talk about from time to time on
got
the
the
show.
real cheap
I'm not
stuff.
sure how often we use the term in passing, but it's definitely
It's called
something
the
that
American
try to stay up to
vodka.
date on science.
It was sitting right
You will
next
see
to
this word in print.
the
It is not
Vladimir
often defined.
vodka.
So I'm going to
made
start
from,
with the standard definition.
French fries
Merriam-Webster,
instead of
which
potatoes?
is the American standard. Of or relating to or
In 3/10 of a mile, left turn onto Northeastern Boulevard.
Genotype to phenotype after the initial action of genes. Okay, what? Or relating to, being, or involving changes in gene function that do not involve changes in DNA sequence. That is one we'll get to. And also both Merriam-Webster and Oxford, whose biological definition is relating to or arising from non-genetic influences on gene expression. Both of them have
Next
a second
left.
definition in geology. Apparently, if something is epigenetic in geology, it was formed later than the surrounding or underlying rock formation. Learned something new when I was researching that. So, but let's dig a little bit deeper. When we actually look at epigenetics as a whole, it's a bit difficult to fully define it unless we understand its etymology. So I think it's important to look back. The year was 1942. The man was Conrad Waddington, and he first coined the term when he defined the field itself. He was actually an embryologist, a developmental biologist, and ultimately he formed the epigenetics research group. Now, at that time, there were two theories, and remember, this was like, the gene was well accepted to be the unit of inheritance, but we didn't know much about genetics yet. And at this time, there were two theories about development or embryology. There was these two interactions, pre-formation and epigenetics. Pre-formation basically said that adult characters were already there in the embryo and they just needed to develop further, to grow. Epigenesis
Proceed on
said
Northeastern
that
Boulevard.
new tissues were actually created because because of the different factors that were involved in the embryo and its expression on, right, they didn't know yet about the expression on genes. And so what Waddington did is he combined those two things, preformation and epigenesis, and he started this whole field of epigenetics. And this is his quote, he referred to it as, quote, the branch of biology that studies the causal interactions between genes and their products which bring the phenotype into being. So it really started in a developmental sense.
That's Richmond. Never really spent much time in Richmond before. That must be the train station.